Hello and welcome back to the Dugout podcast. This is episode 32, I think.
I think it's 33.
Oh, 33. Can't keep
So,
the numbers straight in my head. But we're back to talk about the couple of midweek catch-up games. Obviously, Scottish Cup action at the weekend. Nothing really too surprising in there. And we'll be previewing the European games, big European games coming up for Celtic and Rangers. Celtic obviously hosting Young Boys, and Rangers are playing away to Manchester United. So big week, a lot of stuff to get through. So we'll just dive right in for Dundee versus Celtic. Celtic, uh, you know, showing their first signs of wobbling against a team that isn't Rangers. Not in terms, obviously they drew with Dundee United, but this was really like they let Dundee back into it twice, and then take the lead, and then a stroke of luck. It was a Stonewall penalty, but it was a stroke of luck in the sense of I don't think I could see Celtic scoring any other way, and Arne Engels put it away for three each. But it was a cracking game, Ethan, and not a lot of positives for Celtic in there, but definitely a lot of positives for Dundee.
yeah, Dundee just they keep. I mean, we'll get on the result of the weekend, but they just keep writing everybody off. I think you've heard that they've got the amount of players that they've obviously got out. They obviously took points off Rangers. Now they've taken points off Celtic in the matter of what 5 days, I think it is. Um, so yeah, brilliant from them, and they played really well. They wanted it more than Celtic. They got after Celtic. They made Celtic uncomfortable. And Celtic were, as you said, were really lucky to come away with a point in the end. And it looked like Celtic were on easy street as well for large periods of the first half. When Luke McCowan's goal goes in, a great header from McCowan, a brilliant ball from Taylor. I'm sure McCowan would have loved that, although he didn't celebrate against his old club. And then Dundee score from the counter attack. Adewumi, who also scored against Rangers and is looking like a big player for Dundee. It was a really, really good goal. Kind of squared up. I think it was Johnston that never really closed them down. He just passed it into the corner. A really, really nice goal. And then from there out, it was a bit kind of cagey, and Celtic couldn't really get a grip of the game. And Dundee kept it like that for the whole second half. Obviously, Celtic go ahead again with Yang, his first goal of the season. I think he's just his second goal for Celtic. And you think, oh, maybe Celtic are going to pull away, or
I,
at
I
least.
certainly thought that. I thought, oh, they've got back in front, they'll kick on. But almost immediately, Dundee went up again.
Yeah, I think it was Josh Mulligan who was up on the right hand side who sort of crossed it,
He
and
was
Carter Vickers tries to.
he was probably my man of the match with Simon Murray. I
Yeah,
couldn't point just their effort. Simon Murray was like a man possessed. You'd probably
yeah.
think it looking at his face as well, the eyes all the time, but he was absolutely everywhere. And Austin Trusty did not enjoy having to deal with him all night.
No, definitely not. Mulligan's been one of the sort of exceptional performers for Dundee this season. More of a central midfielder, but he's obviously been playing at right back this season, and he's played really well. Get a bit of luck, Dundee. Cutter Vickers goes to block the cross, and then he ends up putting it past Schmeichel for an own goal. I think that's Cutter Vickers' second own goal of the season. Probably one that reminds you of the other one. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, and at that moment in time, you thought the game really could go either way, and after that, the game sort of developed, and it really did look like Dundee were in the driving seat and they were going to get that third goal,
I
and then
remember
they eventually.
when you were talking on the group chat, and just a few minutes before Dundee scored, you put in, they're going to score here. They're going to
Yeah,
win this. And they did
yeah,
go in front. Aaron
yeah,
Donnelly, another one who didn't celebrate. I don't know what that was about. Maybe he's a spoiled Celtic fan, but he said in his interview after the game that he was just so shocked. that he'd scored. That's why he didn't celebrate. But he put his arms up and everything, so I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, they take the lead, and I think Celtic came back into it a little bit in the last 5-10 minutes or so, but they weren't really creating any clear cut chances. But Nicholas Kuhn looked positive coming back from an injury. Obviously, he cuts inside, gets the shot off, and unfortunately for Dundee, it does hit the arm of Silau's arm. He was outstretched, and it is a penalty in my opinion. And Arne Engels put it away for three each. But it was yeah, and I must say, just on the face of it, if you're a neutral, me watching it, it was a fantastic game of football to watch. It was really brilliant, and Dundee were fighting for everything. They just looked like they had that bit extra in them. That Celtic were a bit taken aback. I think,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Sorry, I was just going to say, I was just agreeing with your point there. Yeah, Dundee were like a team possessed.
yeah,
Were absolutely just all over Celtic. Didn't give them a minute. Were just pressing all over Celtic, especially in the second half. Um, yeah, it was just an unbelievable performance from them. Probably it'll be up there with their best of the season. Come the end of the season, you would imagine, with just how much they put into that second half. And to be fair, they were very unlucky not to take 3 points. But yeah, shows maybe Celtic can be got at. We might have spoke about it already, but maybe a wee bit of complacency creeping into Celtic's sort of play, which I mean you could maybe say is understandable with the sort of the way the league's played out. But it shouldn't be afforded in the other competitions, especially. But yeah, a really good point for Dundee. Not sort of good one for Celtic, but yeah, I'm sure. Well, Celtic and Dundee both got back to winning ways at the weekend.
yeah. Just want to highlight something. The Adamida saga continues. He's not scoring, but to add to that, his play isn't up to what it was. I remember last season, I think against Rangers, I obviously made the impact in the cup final, but I think it was in the three each as well. Rangers were penning Celtic in, and he brings Edal in, and Eda's holding the ball up, and he's giving the centre backs hell, and he ends up scoring. And he's just not. He's not the same, is he? He's not occupying defenders. He's all round plays seem to have gone. Obviously, he'll be low on confidence, but the drop off has been drastic for Adamida.
Yeah, definitely. I think that might be 13 games without a goal now, which for a striker at Celtic, especially one who's signed for almost £10 million, it's really not what you're looking for.
The He's the
He's
second
still,
highest, joint second highest incoming in history, isn't he?
yeah, I think overall Jota was up at some weird price for add-ons or something, but outright, yeah, you're right. Hadamida second highest, and you expect him to sort of kick on from last season where he did score some absolutely crucial goals. You think of that one you mentioned at Ibrox, the cup final, obviously. The goals at Motherwell he scored, and he scored another few goals as well. He had a great sort of second half of the season at Celtic where it looked like he revitalised his career after sort of disappointing at Norwich. But yeah, it's really not worked out well for him. And that's why Celtic's wingers have been so important this season because although Kyogo, I think he's still up there at the top of the scoring charts, he's not hit the heights Celtic fans would expect. Um, but yeah, as a problem for Adam Ida, and I think everyone at Celtic's hoping that it smooths out. But yeah, it's not good, not a good one. And another one, you mentioned him, Austin Trusty. He came under a bit of criticism, I think, from Brendan Rodgers as well as the fans after the game, because as you said, he looked lost, especially on the goal where Aaron Donnelly loses him. I think some of the sort of criticisms are a wee bit over the top. Same with the Liam Scales at Ibrox performance. I think you've got to look at the rest of the season when they've been solid partners to Carter Vickers. Obviously, they're not as reliable as Cameron Carter Vickers. But yeah, I think Celtic just need to be a bit better.
Just to
Uh,
caveat that what you said, I understand that, but this is maybe I don't know. You'll maybe scoff at this, but except from the big games like the Celtic game and high pressure games like away to Aberdeen when we need points, um, Ben Davies was solid. You know what I mean? He was good on the ball. He was all right in the air, and it's all well and good. You know, most of the time if you're solid, but if you can't do it in the big games and or the games like that where it gets ugly, then what can you do? Obviously, we're not taking anything away from how good Simon Murray was because he did give him a lot of problems, but and how good Rangers were against Celtic at Ibrox for Liam Scales' part. But I feel like Celtic do need another Carter Vickers esque partner, just Mr. Consistent, because you'll always have that fear in the back of your head. Obviously, I think a lot of the overreaction about getting them away, never wearing a Celtic jersey again, blah blah blah, is silly. But I see that. But if you tone that down a bit and look at it from that perspective, I feel like Celtic would want another Carter Vickers per se. Just yeah, like I said, Mister Consistent. He's always going to be solid no matter what, and he can step it up in the big games. Obviously, he's a couple of hairy moments, but Carter Vickers is just always excellent. And
Yeah,
with those guys, I think they're a bit more unpredictable.
yeah, definitely. I agree with your point. I think it's a sort of awkward one because if you're looking at Celtic centre backs, if you were signing another one, you would probably sign in a right sided centre back because there isn't really anyone competing with Carter Vickers. Um, but then again, are you going to be able to sign someone that's going to compete with Carter Vickers because he is just that good? But there's always sort of competition you can have. Alistair Johnson nominated for the best team. How credible that actually is. Um, well, we obviously don't know, but and you can always push him. You could sign a player that would push him and maybe knock him out of the team, something like that. There's always levels to go up. But yeah, as you said, they're definitely not on the same level as Carter Vickers, but they both had very solid seasons. But yeah, as you said, Simon Murray was brilliant, and the whole of Dundee's team was magnificent, and they deserved at least a point.
Mm.
Um,
I thought
from that match.
the young guy Garza, I thought he was quite good as well. Actually, he's kind of been thrown in because of injury issues. He's 19, over from Mexico. They've got a partnership, Universidad, I think.
Yeah, I think that was who you said. I think they signed another player from them actually the
Oh,
other
did
day.
they? So they've he's been he was quite good, and I thought he was really like he was decent on the ball, but he was up for like the rough side, the getting down in the muck. So he was good. But yeah, good result for Dundee. They'll be disappointed, but I think Tony Docherty summed it up perfectly. He says the overriding feeling is pride. Obviously, a bit of disappointment, but obviously they can be proud of what they achieved on the night. And Celtic, yeah, performances haven't been up to scratch lately, but they did avoid a loss, which who knows? Obviously, it's looking like they will win it quite comfortably, but that extra point might be important down the line. So, avoiding a loss and that their second domestic loss of the season. Right, on to Rangers. Obviously, we've had a bit of Rangers news as well over the past few days. Rafael Fernandez signs on loan from Lille, 22 years old, Portuguese centre back, 6'3", and apparently I don't think this is confirmed, but the rumour is that there's a buy option in the contract. Ethan, just quickly, it looks like Rangers have got their centre back in that they so desperately need.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's obviously been a key area. The injuries have sort of killed Rangers, especially in defensive areas, especially in the central of defence. You've obviously got John Sutter who's been out. Who else has been out? Casemiro been out. I think you said he's getting recalled.
Yeah, it
I
looks
find
like I think Rangers have had a meeting with Feyenoord, and it looks like Feyenoord are going to recall Casemiro to help him rehab and whatnot, but also because they've reached their loan limit for the season, and they want to loan out Ivanovic to Dinamo Zagreb, because I think they actually signed him from Dinamo Zagreb, but maybe they're loaning him back. Maybe he's not ready for Feyenoord yet, so we're getting him back into his comfort zone to develop. So it's a shame because he's a great player, but I think he's out till the end of January, and then he'll need to work his fitness back. So I'm not sure how much he'll impact the rest of the season, which is a shame for him. But what can you do at the end of the day? But yeah, sorry to jump on your point there, but
No, not at all. But I think the centre back area is certainly looking a lot stronger recently. You obviously get Balogun, who's came back and obviously scored in this game. And then you've got Robin Proper, who I don't think he kind of went out during this spell. And then obviously you've got Clinton and Ciala, who's sort of took advantage of the injuries in front of him and grabbed his opportunity with two hands, you could say. And it's
yeah,
sort of, I think I was speaking to you about this earlier. It kind of ponders the question as to why he maybe didn't get a chance early in the season. I know he didn't have a sort of professional cap to his name, but he's looked decent so far. He's yet to obviously play in a sort of massive match, but maybe he will on Thursday against Manchester United, which will obviously be a big test against top opposition, where he can really show his skills.
unfortunately he's not in the squad.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So yes, I keep forgetting this that Rangers have got all these players that aren't in the squad, but I think you did refresh, so you've got the likes of Hadji and Danilo in now.
Did we?
I don't know. I'm just I'd imagine you'd be able to refresh the squad over January. But I don't know.
I don't think so because it's the. Oh, maybe you might. I don't. Not
I'd
one of.
imagine you would be able to because of January signings and
Yeah,
whatever.
I saw that Hadji wasn't available, so
Yeah,
maybe it's different because this is technically still the group stage, and before the
yeah,
group stages were done by January. So, uh,
yeah, that would make sense. But
but
yeah, anyway, that's obviously going to be a miss because he's been playing pretty well. I think you said he played very well in this game, especially.
yeah, he did. Right, Rangers 3, Aberdeen nil. Um, from start to finish, it was sheer Rangers dominance. Aberdeen were terrible. They extended their winless run to 13. They obviously managed to beat that in that at the weekend there in the Scottish Cup. But yeah, Rangers were brilliant. Pressing from the front, a mistake early on. Cherny nicks the ball, gives it into Diamande, shot's blocked. It falls to Hamza Agaman. And although it's a rebound, he's still got a lot to do here. And he just places it past the goalkeeper. Really, really good finish from him. Rangers are creating a lot of chances, and they go into the first half 1-0. The only chance I'd say for Aberdeen was a long range effort from Leighton Clarkson in basically the halfway line, nearly went in. Liam Kelly managed to stretch and get it. Really good effort from Clarkson. But from then on in, Rangers were just dominating. They creating a lot of chances. Hadji hit the bar, Balogun hit the post. He had an effort blocked off the line, and eventually Rangers get their second in the 92nd minute, and it was Leon Balogun who managed to get it out. Great cross from Clinton Enciala. I'll talk about him for a little bit. I just want to highlight him. But yeah, great cross from him. Balogun heads it home for 2-0. And then in the 97th, I think it was,
I think
uh,
so. Yeah.
Balogun plays broken up for Aberdeen. Balogun plays a long ball. Dessers latches onto it. We step over. You're thinking he's going to fall over the ball. But in classic Cyril Dessers fashion, he puts it away for a really nice finish. He can't score simple goals. It's just not in his nature. And it's 3-0, and I think it's a well deserved. 3-0 for Rangers. Thought everyone on the night was really good. Uh, but I think personally, my man of the match would have been Clinton Enciala. He's just his range of passing was excellent. I think he played a long ball over the top to Jeffy about 4 times. It was pinpoint almost every single time. He was breaking the lines with passes into the likes of Hadji, Danilo, Barami when he came on, breaking sort of breaking into those areas, and beating the press. Yeah, and he just seems so calm on the ball. Um, and it's almost as if you shouldn't write off a kid who's never played a game of professional football after his debut. That was somewhat shaky, but he's really grown into it, and he looks like another exciting one for the future. And I think I'm comfortable in saying now, I might get a bit of stick for this, but he's the best um, on the ball centre back we've got. His range of passing is just ridiculous. It's so smooth. Um, and coming through the AC Milan academy, he's obviously got a bit of talent. But yeah, really, really good performance from Rangers. Really good from Clinton Enciala. And they did capitalise on drop points from Celtic, which, even though it might not mean much in the grand scheme of things, they need to do if they want to have a chance in hell of winning this league title.
Yeah, I think the chance is probably too little, too late, as you'd probably admit. But closing that gap is a sign of growth, and is a sign of closing the gap. Closing the gap. It's not just this league title. There's obviously the Scottish Cup. There's next season, and that's what Rangers are building towards. Obviously, you said about Enciala when he signed, he looked like an exciting sort of buy, or I think it was a free, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, he's looked pretty solid so far, and um, yeah, and he's going to compete, and you've got a bit of competition in that area now, um, which you didn't have when you had all those injuries. But yeah, Rangers were really dominant, as you said. Aberdeen barely had a sniff in this match. And yeah, Rangers at home, no really surprises here. Just
Oh,
consistent as they have been
great
all of
team
the
at
season.
home. Great team at home. Terrible
Yeah,
away from home.
yeah. But for Aberdeen, yeah, it's not good. Really not good. I think you said 13 there. I had down 12. I don't know what it might be either or, but the point still stands. It's an absolutely awful run. Um, and yeah, obviously they did get the win at the weekend, but against League Two opposition. If we're looking at it, looking to be competing in the Premiership, and they've still got Aberdeen have still got a great chance to have a really good season. Still in the Scottish Cup, still have a chance at Europe, still have a chance at automatic Europe if they can get third. So still a lot of time to turn it around. They've obviously brought in some signings. I think three, at least no four. I think it is now. So that they're backing, the board are backing Jimmy Tilleen. I think most of the supporters are still backing Jimmy Tilleen. And I think he will be the right man to turn it around. But yeah, it's not a great period for them. But yeah, business as usual for Rangers at Ibrox.
Yeah, definitely. Right, we'll move on to the Scottish Cup action from the weekend. We're not going to go through every single game, but I'll
Well, we're
just,
just
eh?
I was just going. I was just going to go. I was just going to give a little bit, just a wee sort of quick sort of bit about the kind of games that we said. As Alex mentioned at the start, there wasn't too many sort of upsets. I think we picked out 5 games from the round that we seen as the sort of
Yeah.
biggest ones.
I was just going to do a quick results reading and then
Yeah,
we'll talk about the games we're going to go for. So, Broxburn Athletic nil, Ayr United 8, unlucky for Broxburn. Cove Rangers 2, for Athletic, nil. Dumbarton 1, Airdrie 5. Ethan's hometown team, not looking good for them. Uh, you know, last in the championship, absolutely batter last in League One. So yeah, not
Airdrie not having a win against a Scottish Football League opponent in 16 games as well.
oh
Um,
really.
yeah, really not good for Dumbarton, who are probably going to find themselves in League Two again.
Yeah, Dunfermline Athletic 3, Stenhousemuir nil. That's a big win. Elgin City nil, Aberdeen 3, Hamilton Accies 3, Athletic 1. Musselburgh getting a goal in there. Hibs
Scraped through that
3.
one, Hamilton.
Eh?
Scraped through that one, Hamilton.
Hibs 3, Clydebank nil, Queen of the South 1, St Mirren 3, Queen's Park 3, Montrose 2 after extra time, Ross County 2, Livingston 3 after extra time, St Johnstone 1, Motherwell nil, Celtic 2, Kilmarnock 1, Falkirk 1, Wraith Rovers 2 after extra time. That's quite a big one. Rangers 5, Fraserburgh nil, and Dundee 1, Dundee United nil. So that's sort of the results, and I think we're going to talk about 5 of the games, Ethan. First of all, going with Ross County and Livingston. I guess you could say the only upset of the rounds.
Yeah, as the sort of most of the games you mentioned, not really much. Maybe Rafe beating Falkirk a slight sort of shock, but they're in the same league at the end of the day. So Falkirk haven't been at the heights they were. But yeah, Ross County, Livingston. Livingston obviously the upper end of the Championship. Ross County at the bottom end of the Premiership, but the bottom end of the Premiership, even 11th place in the Premiership, isn't like it as usually in any other season. As all 11 teams, well, not all 11 teams, obviously, but there still could be a lot of sort of shuffling the pack down that bottom area. I backed Ross County to win this one at home, but obviously they didn't. There wasn't really any sort of great goals in this game. But yeah, it started off at the end of the first half. I really don't know what Akil Wright's doing. He sticks his hand up in the box and it hits his arm and it's a clear penalty. Robbie Muirhead converts for 1-0 Levy. And then Noah Chilvers equalises and a bit of stramash in the box.
Noah
Then
Chilvers just keeps defying you every single week.
yeah, he does. I'm happy for him. And then Montano still at Levy gives
Yeah,
them the lead
can't
again.
believe it.
Yeah, I know. And then Ronan Hale scores with 20 left to make it 2-2. And then Robbie Muirhead has a bit of a moment of madness. I don't know if you've seen this. He sort of kicks the ball, the Ross County player when they're on the floor, which is a bit of a sort of. But I don't really think it's a red. It could have been given a red because he sort of kicks the ball at the player's head. But I don't know. It could have went either way. Obviously, he only gets the yellow, um, and then Levy going to win in extra time with almost the last kick of the ball. Andrew Shinnie in the 120th minute. So a massive win for Levy. And yeah, they'll be in the running for sort of the playoffs, maybe even the title. But you would maybe say Falkirk and Ayr are sort of the teams, but Livy are just behind. And maybe this does show. I think I've said in the past that I'd back 11th place in the Premiership to see off the Championship playoff winners, but maybe this proves that point.
Yeah, maybe it does. It's a good win for Livingston. You do like to see an upset because when it just gets to the latter stages and it's just packed with Premiership teams, it can be a little bit boring. But yeah, good result for Levy, and they'll be very pleased to be into the next round. St Johnstone defeated Motherwell, big win for St Johnstone. It's a shame they can't win in the blooming league, but same with Aberdeen. But it is a really big win for them, and you know a big win for Simo Valakari, I think, who maybe the Scottish Cup is something that he can be holding on to and going, look, I'm doing it in the Cup, so leave me be. Yeah, Mackenzie Kirk, um, one of their bright sparks for the season, getting the goal. Ethan, just yeah, great for St Johnstone and Motherwell's
Yeah,
woes continue.
yeah, definitely. I think it's St Johnson's first win in 10. So yeah, they have been struggling in the league, as you said. But yeah, a massive win, and I think you can maybe even see this one coming. Motherwell, as you said, not in a good run at all. They've just got just the one win in the last 8 games. So it's went a wee bit sort of bleak for Stuart Kettlewell. But St Johnstone, as you said, with Valakari, maybe can prove himself in the cup and sort of keep his job. Or maybe they can inspire an unlikely comeback in the league. You never know. Stranger things have happened. But as you said, Mackenzie Kirk, another goal for him. And yeah, he's their standout player. He's their best player. And yeah, they'll be hoping that maybe they can salvage a bit of money for him if they do go down. Because he would be snapped up by a Premiership team, I'd imagine, if they were to go under.
So moving on to the next game, we have Celtic, I believe. Celtic versus Kilmarnock. Celtic 2, Kilmarnock 1. A few talking points in this game. Celtic did play quite well, created a lot of chances. However, Kelly did hold their own. I think they should be proud of the performance because a lot of people were expecting Celtic to blow them away, but they didn't. Celtic went 1-0 up early on. Callum McGregor with a stunning strike, adding to his catalogue this season. Kilmarnock then equalised with a somewhat controversial goal. A lot of people believe it shouldn't have stood because of handball. However, me personally, I think this is fine.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's one of those ones where it doesn't, his hand, he can't really do anything with his arm. It doesn't affect the sort of overall direction of the ball. It hits his arm and it falls perfectly for Wales. But I think the rules are if it's, unless it's the scorer who hits his arm, it's allowed. So I think, yeah, they got the right decision with this one. It was a fair goal, I'd say.
Yeah, Kilmarnock had their chances. Corey and Daba with a few, but Celtic eventually went ahead. Aizen Maeda, I think it was, who scored
Yeah.
the winner. Controversy in this one, a foul in the build-up. A lot of Kilmarnock fans think so. But for me, again, personally, I think they got this one right. It just seemed like a collision.
Yeah, I don't think I've even seen it. I watched the highlights, but YouTube highlights aren't the best. I didn't get to watch the game at the weekend as I was working, but from watching the highlights, the sort of pickup I had was that Celtic should have scored about 10.
Definitely.
I seen the sort of that we missed a lot of chances, but I didn't see to the extent that Celtic missed chances. I mean, really, there was lots of chances missed. But yeah, as you mentioned, you got to credit Kilmarnock. They hung in there, and um, I mean, they were slightly unlucky in the end, I suppose. Just a bit of quality from Kuhn, and then a good finish from Maeda, the two players who I mentioned earlier, who have been sort of carrying that attacking burden for large periods this season.
Yeah, definitely. So, a win for Celtic. Kilmarnock be disappointed not to come away with the win themselves. But you know, it's what everyone expected, and they didn't blow them away as everyone expected. So, um, yeah, I wouldn't say there's much else to talk about for that game. But Celtic progress to the next round. There's obviously, I would say, the favourite for the cup. However, you never know because obviously the last meeting between Celtic and Rangers was heavily favoured to Rangers. The only stumbling block I could see for Rangers winning the Scottish Cup is if they get an away tie against a Premiership team, and in the following rounds, but I believe that they are
We don't
capable.
know.
Eh?
You don't know. You don't know. It might be an away tie against the championship team.
Yeah, could be. Yeah,
no,
definitely.
no, I don't think they're quite that poor away from home. But yeah,
Yeah. Well, that was that for that game. Uh, on to Rangers, who we were just talking about, 5-0 against Fraserburgh. Fraserburgh kept it tight in the first half, but Rangers' quality eventually just showed through. They did pass up on a massive opportunity to make it one each. The boys should have squared it. Instead, they went for the shot, and it just went past the post. Very poor decision making, and that could have seen the game go in a whole other direction. But yeah, Rangers took the lead through Cyril Dessers. Rangers scoring from a corner again. They're starting to flood in. After not scoring from a corner for so long, it went into half time at 1-0. Enciala with a good strike, a wee deflection on the way there to make it 2-0. Dessers made it 3-0 with a goal making it more difficult for himself than he has to. McCausland made it 4, and Dessers made it 5 for his hat trick in extra time. Was it a perfect hat trick for Dessers, or was two of the goals with his left foot? Uh,
I know the last one was set with his left. What was the first one a header?
First one was a header, yeah. So
I can't.
I
I don't think I've seen the first
can't
goal. I
really
can't
remember
remember
the
it
second
anyway.
one, but yeah, good
Um,
performance from Rangers. The only thing so funny with Dessers, because if you look at the chance he squandered earlier in the game from like an open goal position to his hat trick goal, which is an insanely difficult finish. You wonder what's going on with the guy. But yeah, everyone expected Rangers to win. I think Fraserburgh did make a good showing of it in the first half. I think just the quality and the fitness as well. It's tough when you're not obviously a full time side to do that. But
yeah,
yeah, they did make it fairly difficult for Rangers in the first half, but Rangers got it done in the end.
yeah. I think you've got to also credit the Fraserburgh support. It must have been
Most definitely.
the whole town that was stacked into that away stand in the corner, or that away section in the corner even. But yeah, just as I said in the last game, maybe I repeat myself a bit, but business as usual for Rangers. A good win, got to rotate the squad a bit, and a good hat trick from Dessers. All as you said, he probably could have had more than the three. He had that chance in the first half, and I think he had one in the second half while he was on a hat trick. But yeah, as you said, Rangers will target the Scottish Cup as our most realistic chance of a trophy now, and yeah, they'll be in it until the end. You'd imagine.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, Rangers will be looking for that Scottish Cup trophy as their main target. Right, on to Monday, the Dundee Derby. Dundee with the 1-0 victory, Simon Murray with the goal. A bit of controversy though, Dundee United with a goal disallowed for a foul. The ref blew up before the ball had gone in the net. So I think that means VAR can't check it. So unless I don't know, did they not have VAR because a lot of teams don't have it, or did they just have them at the Premiership grounds? Or well, they
No, I
must
think they still had them at the
they must have done
Premiership
because they
grounds.
checked it for Celtic. So um,
Yeah,
yeah, so
it's not like the FA Cup where they done that in that weird game at the Emirates where they gave that terrible penalty against Manchester United.
yeah, that's so weird that they didn't use VAR for that. But yeah, Simon Murray with the winning goal. He seems to love scoring against his former club in the derbies recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's maybe the only controversial moment, Ethan. Now, what do you think of the foul that was given?
Yeah, I think it probably was a foul. I don't know about the one on Simon Murray. Maybe a bit soft. I think Simon Murray is one of the players who likes to go down under little contact. But yeah, maybe it was a foul on Lyle Cameron anyway on the edge of the box. But as you said, if the ref's blown, he can't really do anything after that. Unfortunately for Dundee United, um, I've not got the expected goal stats in front of me because it doesn't do it on FootMob, my usual source for the Scottish Cup. But I've seen on Dundee United stats that it's the highest XG they've had in a single game this season. So for them to not score is quite surprising. But Dundee, I think going into this game, you could maybe see there was a slight chance, just the spirit they built over the last two games. Well, yeah, the last two games as the last two games because they didn't play last weekend. The points against Rangers and Celtic. That they took confidence into this game. They obviously went 1 up against Dundee United Dens a few weeks ago, and that didn't work out. Simon Murray didn't get the last laugh against his old team, but he did this time. It was a good goal from him 2 minutes in. And as you said, he loves scoring against United. And a wee bit of bragging rights for Dundee because it's been mostly United who have had them so far this season.
Yeah, definitely. Just a bit of breaking news here. Rangers can confirm that Alex Lowry has joined Wycombe Wanderers on a permanent deal for an undisclosed fee. Very much a tale of what could have been for Alex Lowry. But yeah, sorry, that just popped up on my feed there, and I just thought I'd mention it.
Yeah.
But aye, should we move on to the European games? We'll talk about the fixtures for the next round. Let me just pull them up here. So we've got Aberdeen versus Dunfermline Athletic. Do you want to do many predictions for them, Ethan? Say who we
Uh,
think won.
yeah, I'll pull them up. I've got them up here. The last 16. Here we go.
So Aberdeen versus Dunfermline. Who are you going with that one?
I think it's going to be Aberdeen. Dunfermline, not doing the best in the championship. Obviously, got that good win against Steny, but yeah, Aberdeen.
Okay, right. Ayr United versus Hibs.
Oh, that this is an interesting one.
Hibs are
Ayr
on good
United,
form though, so
yeah, it's not one we would expect Ayr United to win, but they're on good form. But yeah, Hibs. I think Hibs will win that one.
yeah, I'll go with Hibs as well. Celtic versus Wraith Rovers. Celtic.
I think they're obviously going to have to go with Celtic. Yeah,
Dundee versus Airdrie. Let's go with Dundee for that one.
yeah, Dundee for that one.
Livy versus Cove. Livy, I'd say.
Yeah, I think got to go with Levy for that one.
Rangers versus Queen's Park. Rangers.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah. St Johnstone versus Hamilton Accies. I'm gonna go with
Oh,
the Accies.
oh, your wee soft spot for the Ackies. I don't know because St Johnson they can turn up and just be absolutely terrible. But at home, I'd still fancy them against Hamilton, so I'm going to go with St Johnston.
I'm probably joint with Ayr United and Habs. I'd say this is one of the most interesting ties, but I'd say this is definitely the most competitive tie of the round of 16. St Mirren versus Hearts. This is a real unpredictable one. I think I'm going to go with a home win for the Buddies.
Yeah, I mean it just depends what team turns up really and what on the day. But I'm going to go with Hearts. Don't know, just a 50-50 really with that one.
All right. Well, that's that for the Scottish Cup. Obviously, when the following round is complete, we'll cover those as well. But it's always nice when you see a bit more representation for the lower teams, and hopefully we see a couple of upsets in the next round, i.e. Hamilton Accies. But yeah, we'll move on to the European games. So Celtic take on Young Boys at Parkhead in the second to last game of the Champions League phase. Um, Celtic sit in 20. Let me just check. I think it's 23rd, 21st. Sorry, 21st.
One of us got it right.
21st. 2 points above PSG and Stuttgart. 1 point ahead the likes of Man City, PSV Eindhoven, Dinamo Zagreb. And and Villa are currently losing. No, they have lost. It's done. It just
Yeah.
went back. Villa have lost 1-0 to Monaco. So if Aston Villa want to push for their top 8 position, the game against Celtic the following week is a must win. And I think Celtic would rather going into that game with the 3 points in the bag and playoffs secured than having to put everything on a win at Villa Park.
Yeah, definitely. Aston Villa maybe not hit the heights of last season, but you still don't want to go to Villa Park looking for a win because they have been brilliant in the Champions League this season for the most part. And you look at young boys, bottom of the Champions League, struggling in their own league, ninth of 12 teams. And yeah, I think the last 2 games they lost 5-1 to Stuttgart and 6-1 to Atalanta. So Celtic have got to be looking at beating them at home. You couldn't have asked for a sort of easier game this time in the competition. 10 points was the sort of points total that's likely to have you qualify, but it is kind of close. There's a few teams just outside the top 24 that could maybe sneak in. I think 10 points probably will be enough by the end of it, but you'd want to win for Celtic just to remove any doubts on the last day. And I think Celtic will win. I know they've been up maybe a little bit, as you said, not as good in recent weeks, especially with the draw against Dundee, going back to the sort of loss against Rangers. But I think they'll have more than enough to beat this young boys team who have just come back from the winter break. They had their first game at the weekend against rock bottom Winterthur, who they couldn't score, and it was a stalemate at Young Boys Stadium. And I think this is only their second game under their new manager, George
The
Gilbert.
Wagdorf Stadium.
Yeah, that's the one. You nailed that. But yeah, they've only played one game under their new manager, and yeah, they don't really, they shouldn't. Celtic should not be dropping any points to this young boys team if they want to have any ambition in this competition. And yeah, I think Celtic will win. Yeah, I don't really see a scenario where young boys win,
Yeah,
but you never know.
me neither. Really, I think just on paper, um, they should comfortably win. Although football isn't played on paper, it's played on the pitch. So I guess we'll see on the night. But I'd agree. I think Celtic should beat their side. We'll give our predictions at the end as we normally do for European football. But yeah, a win is a must, I think, for Celtic. But I think they will win and secure that spot to the playoff rounds. Right now, onto I'd say the big one of the two, Manchester United versus Rangers. Um, both sides that have been struggling a little bit in their divisions this season. Manchester United, I'd say a bit more so. 13th in the Premier League, just 10 points ahead of Ipswich in the relegation zone. They're closer to Ipswich than they are to Bournemouth, who are in 7th. They're 10 points away from Aston Villa as well, who are in 8th. Bournemouth in 7th on 37, so they're 11 points. And they're 12 points outside the top 5, 14 points outside the top 4. So it's not great for Manchester United this season. They've obviously just lost to Brighton and Hove Albion after their triumph over Arsenal in the Cup. So yeah, they're a really inconsistent side, a bit like Rangers this season. But Rangers have a tendency to turn it on in European football. The table, the Europa League table, 7th versus 8th. Rangers just a point behind United. So if they manage to get a win, I think it would be massive. But the Europa League's so tight. If you look down to, so if you go from 24th to Rangers in 8th, there's only a 4 point difference. Then from 21st, it's a 3 point difference, and then you got to 17th. there's only a 2 point difference, and then from 13th up to 8th, there's only a 1 point difference, and there are three teams on 11 points: Rangers, Tottenham, and FCSB. So it is really tight up there. But Rangers are just 2 points behind Leon up in fourth as well. I'd say the teams maybe out of reach are Anderlecht, Athletic Club de Bilbao, and Lazio. Um, Lazio and Bilbao both have full marks. Anderlecht, well, no, they're undefeated, is what I was going
Yeah.
to say. They've only drawn one game. Anderlecht have drawn twice, so they're on 14 points. So it's really tight in the Europa League, but it's a big game for both sides if they want to progress in that top eight. I think both of them, although it's not impossible. I think both for them to fall out. I think both of them will qualify for at least playoffs, but both of them would want to play in that top eight. So yeah, I think it's an unpredictable one because, like I said, Rangers have a tendency to turn it on Europe. Man United have a tendency to maybe collapse against lesser sides. They obviously defeated Southampton 3-1, but for much of that game, I'd say Southampton were the better side, and they're a side that are hurtling towards being the worst side in Premier League history. So I think opportunities are there for Rangers to get at United.
Yeah, definitely. I think if you've already drawn the comparisons, and I think both teams could be considered sort of cup teams. They can pull it off in those sort of one-off games. We've seen it Rangers this season, Celtic game, Nice, and the Europa League games which they won as well, and Tottenham as well. Sorry, Man United, as you mentioned, wins at the Etihad, wins at the Emirates in the FA Cup, a point at Anfield. They all look like great results, but then you struggle against Southampton and you take ex Rangers loanee Amad Diallo hat trick to bail you out, and then you go and lose to Brighton at the weekend. So yeah, I think this could really go either way. It's like the Spurs game. It's just the two teams are so unpredictable, and it'll be a really entertaining game to watch as a neutral. I think, as you said, both teams will be looking to take at least something from the game. I think Man United might sneak through in the top eight with 3 points more. Rangers probably need 4 points more. So I think Rangers need to get something here if they're looking at top eight. But it'll be close. It'll be a really good game, I think. And yeah, I couldn't really predict it, to be honest.
Me neither, but we're going to have to give a prediction. So we'll go for
Yeah,
the Celtic game first. I'll go Celtic 3, Young Boys now.
I'll go with Celtic 2, Young Boys now.
Okay.
Less confident than you.
All right. Okay. Right. For Man United versus Rangers, I'm going to go
Uh,
Manchester United 1, Rangers 2.
oh, I'm gonna go with. What am I gonna go with? 6-all. No. Oh, um, I'll go with. I'll go with 2-1 Man United. Don't know. I think the quality of Man United will shine through. Amad Diallo, I think he'll come back to hurt Rangers in the Europa League.
After he was terrible for us, but
Yeah, he was.
he started coming on to a game at the end of his loan spell. But yeah, I'm glad to see he's succeeding because he's got talent. He's a decent wee player. But yeah, that's that for the European previews. Obviously, Scottish Hearts, have crashed out. So it's just Rangers and Celtic we've got left, and we're hoping both of them progress to at least the playoffs in the next round and get just to get in amongst it and maybe upset a few sides. But yeah, thank you to everyone for watching and listening. We've covered a decent amount today. Maybe we've rambled on a little bit, but it's always fun with Ethan on here. Go check out the Twitter at the Dugout 2024, and goodbye.